Have you ever wondered why some people take magnesium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2 religiously and still struggle with low energy, poor sleep, or joint pain? The truth is, just because a supplement is widely recommended doesn't mean it's right for you or even safe in the way you're currently using it. In fact, research now shows that the benefits of these three powerful nutrients depend heavily on when you take them, how you combine them, and whether your body is in the right biological state to absorb and utilize them at all. Let's start with a simple but critical insight from physiology. More is not always better, especially when it comes to fats-soluble nutrients like vitamin D3 and K2, or when magnesium is taken in isolation from your lifestyle, your stress levels, or your calcium intake. Here's why that matters. Vitamin D3, for example, helps regulate over 1,000 genes, many of which impact immune function, brain health, and calcium metabolism. But without enough magnesium, you can't convert it into its active form. And without vitamin K2, that calcium might go to your arteries instead of your bones. That's not just suboptimal, that's dangerous. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that individuals supplementing with high-dose vitamin D, but without adequate K2 intake, had a significantly increased risk of arterial stiffness, a known precursor to heart disease. That's not what most people imagine when they reach for a health supplement. Meanwhile, magnesium, the fourth most abundant mineral in your body, is crucial for over 300 enzymatic reactions, including those that impact sleep, stress, and focus. But too much at the wrong time or in the wrong form can actually lead to diarrhea, sluggishness, and impaired absorption of other key minerals like zinc or calcium. So, what's really going on here? What's happening in your body is a delicate symphony of biochemical signals, and when you start supplementing without understanding the timing, synergy, and form of these nutrients, it's like trying to play a concerto with half the orchestra missing. This isn't about scaring you off supplementation. Far from it. It's about empowering you with the right framework, the neuroscience, physiology, and behavioral science you need to make smarter decisions for your health. In this episode, we'll break down the real science behind these three popular supplements. And more importantly, we'll explore why your magnesium may not be helping your sleep or your mood. The critical mistake most people make with vitamin D3, that increases their cardiovascular risk. How vitamin K2 acts as a traffic cop for calcium, and what happens when it's missing. A simple way to know if you're taking the wrong form of these nutrients. When to take each one based on your circadian biology and stress levels, and the exact dosing strategies top researchers and clinicians are using today. If you've ever taken a supplement and wondered why it didn't work, or even made things worse, this is the science you need to hear. Before we start, I want you to share your problems and questions about health issues you are observing in your body. This will help me understand what are most common issues, and I will discuss them in my next videos. So let's dig into the topic. Stay with me until the end. Most people think of magnesium as a natural sleep supplement. And yes, it's true. Magnesium can help you wind down, especially at night. But that view is incredibly limited. In reality, magnesium plays a far more foundational role in your nervous system. From how your brain handles stress, to how well your muscles contract, and even how efficiently you produce energy at the cellular level. Let's break it down. Magnesium is required for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, and many of them involve ATP, your body's energy currency. But here's the part most people miss. ATP is biologically active only when bound to magnesium, so when you're deficient, your cells literally can't power themselves correctly. But it doesn't stop there. In your brain, magnesium regulates the activity of NMDA receptors, which are involved in synaptic plasticity, learning, and memory. In plain English, without enough magnesium, your brain becomes more excitable and more prone to stress, anxiety, and even poor cognitive performance. One 2018 meta-analysis in Nutrients found that individuals with low magnesium levels were significantly more likely to experience symptoms of depression and anxiety. What's happening in the brain is a kind of overfiring, neurons firing when they don't need to, and circuits becoming overwhelmed by input that would normally be filtered out. Have you ever felt overstimulated by minor things? Lights too bright, sounds too loud, people too intense. That's often a nervous system struggling to regulate itself. and magnesium deficiency can be part of the reason. The reason this matters is that many people supplement magnesium without understanding which form to use for which outcome. Magnesium citrate, for example, is great for digestion, but too much can cause loose stools. Magnesium glycinate is more calming. It binds to glycine, an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Magnesium 3 and 8, perhaps the most exciting, crosses the blood-brain barrier and has been shown in animal studies. Neuropharmacology 2010, to improve learning and memory by increasing synaptic density in the hippocampus. So when someone tells you take magnesium for sleep, the real question should be which kind, how much, and when. Here's a simple behavioral tool to use. If your primary concern is sleep, consider magnesium glycinate taken 1 to 2 hours before bed, ideally paired with a winding down routine and dim lighting to support melatonin release. If your goal is cognitive function and stress resilience during the day, magnesium 3N88 at a dose of around 1000 to 2000 mg of magnesium 3N8 yielding 144 mg elemental magnesium in the morning or early afternoon may support better focus without sedation. And if you deal with muscle cramps or constipation, magnesium citrate, usually taken with meals, can watch your tabula. Now, here's where things get especially interesting. Magnesium also modulates the HPA axis, your brain's stress response system. It literally blunts the release of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. So, when you're under chronic stress, you deplete magnesium faster. And when you're low on magnesium, you feel stress more intensely. It's a vicious cycle, but it's also an opportunity. By timing magnesium strategically and choosing the right form, you're not just managing symptoms, you're directly influencing how your brain responds to life. And one final point here, magnesium works best when your lifestyle supports its function. That means consistent sleep, real food with leafy greens and seeds, and limiting caffeine and alcohol, both of which deplete magnesium. The supplement is only as effective as the system it's entering. Now, we'll look at something just as important and far less talked about: how magnesium and vitamin D3 work as a biochemical team, and why taking one without the other can leave both underperforming or worse, cause harm. And if you're finding this breakdown helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe. This channel is about making real science usable, so you can make smarter, safer decisions for your brain and body. Let's keep going. Vitamin D3 has been called the sunshine vitamin, and for good reason. Your skin produces it when exposed to UVB rays, plays a key role in calcium absorption, immune function, and even gene expression. But here's what most people, and even many physicians, don't talk about. Your body cannot activate vitamin D3 without magnesium. Let's unpack this. When you consume vitamin D3, either through sun exposure or supplements, it first enters your bloodstream in an inactive form to convert it into the biologically active form called catriol. Your body relies on a group of enzymes that are magnesium dependent. In fact, all three of the major enzymes involved in vitamin D metabolism require magnesium. So, what happens when you're taking vitamin D3 supplements, but you're low on magnesium? You end up with a buildup of inactive vitamin D in your system, which can show up on blood tests as normal levels, but your body can't actually use it effectively. You might still feel tired, foggy, or get sick often. And worse, your risk of vitamin D toxicity increases because your body can't convert or regulate it properly. A 2018 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that individuals with optimal magnesium levels were far less likely to have low or high vitamin D status, suggesting that magnesium status helps regulate and stabilize D3 levels regardless of supplementation. Think of magnesium as the key that turns on the engine. Without it, you're pouring premium fuel, vitamin D3, into a car that won't start. Here's a practical example. Say you're supplementing with 5000 IU of vitamin D3 per day, a fairly common dose if your magnesium levels are suboptimal, which is true for up to 50% of the US population per NAN's data. Your body might only convert a fraction of that tough active form. The rest builds up unused, and that's when problems can arise. Symptoms of this mismatch can include muscle weakness, fatigue, irritability, or even calcium complications like kidney stones or vascular calcification. What's happening in your brain and body is a kind of biochemical traffic jam. Vitamin D is signaling your gut to absorb more calcium, but without enough magnesium to activate it and enough vitamin K2 to direct it, that calcium has nowhere safe to go. So, what can you do? Here's a simple tool to apply. If you're taking vitamin D3 regularly, make sure you're also getting around 300 to 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium per day, ideally from both food and supplements. Dark leafy greens, almonds, pumpkin seeds, and avocados are great dietary sources. If supplementing, magnesium glycinate or threonate, as discussed earlier, are gentle bioavailable options, and here's a habit-based protocol to consider. Morning. Take your vitamin D3 with your first meal, preferably one containing some fat toward absorption. Later in the day, take magnesium either with dinner or 1 to 2 hours before bed, depending on the form and your sleep needs. This spacing mimics how your body would naturally produce and regulate these nutrients, and it supports both absorption and utilization. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What happens when you absorb more calcium from vitamin D3, but it doesn't end up where it's supposed to, because the absence of one overlooked vitamin K2 could determine whether that calcium strengthens your bones or stiffens your arteries. But before we move on, if you've been learning something new here, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below sharing your biggest insights so far, and consider subscribing if you haven't yet. We're building a grounded, science-driven community here, and your voice matters. Let's say you're doing everything right. You're taking vitamin D3 to improve your immune health, support your bones, maybe even boost your mood. But behind the scenes, something potentially dangerous is calcium is getting absorbed into your bloodstream, but instead of going to your bones, it's ending up in your arteries. This isn't just theoretical. A 2015 study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that high serum levels of vitamin D, when not accompanied by sufficient vitamin K2, were associated with increased arterial stiffness, a key early marker for cardiovascular disease. The science behind this is straightforward, but often ignored. Vitamin D3 increases calcium absorption in the gut. That's its job. But where that calcium ends up in your bones, where it strengthens, or in your arteries, where it hardens, depends heavily on vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 acts like a calcium traffic controller. Its job is to activate proteins like osteocalcium and matrix-glin MGP, which literally guide calcium to your bones and teeth and keep it out of soft tissues like blood vessels, kidneys, and joints. Without K2, calcium becomes a loose cannon, and, over time, this misplacement can lead to calcification in places you didn't want, including the coronary arteries. Have you ever heard of someone who takes calcium supplements, eats clean, and still develops heart issues later in life? Is maybe part of the explanation. It's not just how much calcium you have, it's whether your body knows where to put it. What's happening at the cellular level is like this. Vitamin D says, let in more calcium. Vitamin K2 says, here's where to send it. Without K2, the message becomes incomplete, and calcium accumulates where it shouldn't. Let's bring this into real-world terms. If you're supplementing with vitamin D3 and magnesium, but not including K2, here are some subtle signs your calcium regulation might be off. You experience muscle cramps, even though your magnesium is on point. You notice joint stiffness or poor flexibility. You have mildly elevated blood pressure or a feeling of tightness in your chest. These aren't diagnostic in isolation, but they can be subtle flags that something's misfiring in your calcium metabolism. So, how do get this right? Here's a simple evidence-based protocol. Pair your vitamin D3 with vitamin K2, ideally in the MK7 form. MK7 has a longer half-life in the body than MK4, meaning it supports calcium regulation throughout the day. Doses of 100 to 200 mg daily are commonly used in clinical practice. Take both with your first meal of the day. Ideally, one containing fat for better absorption. Vitamin D and K are fat-soluble, meaning they're absorbed best with dietary fat. Continue magnesium intake later in the day, as previously discussed to ensure full enzymatic activation of vitamin D. Think of this like a nutrient triad: vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium. They work together. Leaving out one disrupts the harmony. And here's an empowering reframe. This isn't about fear, it's about precision. You now know more than 95% of people taking supplements off the shelf, and that gives you the power to not just protect your health, but to optimize it. Now, we'll dive into the actual forms of each of these nutrients best. Even if your timing and pairings are right, taking the wrong form, the wrong chemical structure could blunt the effects completely. And if this kind of deep dive into actionable science is valuable to you, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm to keep showing you grounded, empowering content, and it helps this community grow. Let's get even more specific. Next, if you've ever stood in the supplement aisle staring at 10 different bottles of magnesium, vitamin D3, or K2, wondering which one actually works, you're not alone. The supplement world is full of labels, claims, and confusing terminology. But here's what science and clinical experience shows. The form of a nutrient dramatically affects how your body absorbs and uses it. Let's start with magnesium. There are more than half a dozen common forms, but each has unique properties and ideal use cases. Magnesium citrate. This form is bound to citric acid, which makes it more bioavailable than some others, but it also has a laxative effect. If you're struggling with constipation or digestive sluggishness, this might help. But if your goal is neurological or muscular support, it's not your best choice. Magnesium glycinate, bound to glycine, an inhibitory neurotransmitter. This form is excellent for calming the nervous system and promoting sleep. It's gentle on the stomach and does not cause laxative effects, making it ideal for stress, anxiety, and sleep concerns. Magnesium 3 innate. This is the only form shown to cross the blood-to-brain barrier effectively. A 2010 study in neuropharmacology demonstrated that magnesium 3 innate increased synaptic density in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. If your focus is cognitive enhancement or neuroprotection, this is your best bet. Magnesium oxide or sulfate. These are inexpensive but poorly absorbed. Magnesium oxide, for example, has bioavailability under 4%. It's cheap for a reason. Unless used for specific clinical reasons, these are generally not recommended for long-term supplementation. Now, on to vitamin D3. You'll often see D2 and D3 on labels. The difference is important. Vitamin D2, aerosoliferaol, is plant-directed and less potent. Vitamin D3 coliferol is the natural form your body makes from sunlight and has been shown in multiple studies, including a 2012 meta-analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, to be more effective at raising and maintaining serum vitamin D levels. For most people, D3 is the clear choice. Look for it in soft gel or liquid form, preferably with added fat or taken with a fat-containing meal for optimal absorption. Microencapsulated versions may have slightly improved stability, but food contexts and coactors still matter more. And finally, let's talk about vitamin K2. K2 comes primarily in two forms. MK4, short-acting, rapidly cleared from the bloodstream. It requires multiple doses per day and is less stable in supplement form. Still, it's found in animal products and may have some therapeutic uses. MK7, long-acting, stable, and more bioavailable, found in fermented foods like natto. It's shown to remain active in the bloodstream for up to 72 hours. Most supplement research focuses on MK7, and it's the recommended form for cardiovascular and bone health. What you want to look for on a label is vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, ideally 1000 to 2000 IU daily, unless directed otherwise by lab. Vitamin K2 MK7, around 100 to 200 milligrams per day. Magnesium glycinate or 3N8 dosed based on your goals. Tilde 200 to 400 milligrams elemental magnesium. Also, watch for what's not in the product. Avoid unnecessary fillers, binders, additives like titanium dioxide, artificial dyes, or magnesium stearate in large quantities. Here's a simple checklist. The right form D3, K2M, K7, mag glycinate, 3N8, taken with food or fat complemented by a lifestyle that supports absorption, good sleep, movement, and gut health. Avoiding synthetic additives or cheap binders. Because here's the truth, a high-quality supplement in the wrong form is like owning a sports car without keys. It looks good, but it doesn't get you anywhere. In part 5, we'll look at something even more overlooked, timing. Because when you take these nutrients relative to your circadian rhythm, your meals, and your stress levels changes how effectively they work. That's not opinion, that's biology. Let's explore how to work with your body's internal clock, not against it. We've talked about the forms of magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2, but now we need to look at something equally critical: timing. Because your body is not a machine that runs the same way 24/7. It's governed by powerful biological rhythms, especially your circadian clock, which influences everything from hormone release to nutrient absorption to immune readiness. And yet, timing is often the most overlooked part of supplementation. Most people take their vitamins whenever they remember, morning, night, with or without food, assuming it. But here's what the research shows. When you take a supplement can determine how well it works, or whether it works at all. Let's start with vitamin D3. Your body is biologically primed to produce vitamin D in response to morning or midday sunlight. That means your enzymes and receptors are most active during that time, particularly in the morning hours when cortisol, your alertness hormone, is naturally elevated. Taking vitamin D3 in the morning or with your first meal of the day aligns with this natural rhythm and can support better hormone regulation, energy levels, and even mood. In contrast, taking D3 late in the evening can potentially interfere with melatonin production. Although the research here is still developing, one small study published in Sleep Health 2018 found that evening vitamin D3 supplementation was linked to reduced sleep efficiency in some individuals. Tool. Take your D3 plus K to supplement with breakfast or lunch. Ideally, a meal that contains healthy fats like avocado, eggs, olive oil, or fatty. This enhances absorption and syncs with your biological clock. Now, let's talk about magnesium. Magnesium has calming parasympathetic activating effects, meaning it helps shift your nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest. This makes it ideal for evening use if your goal is better sleep, muscle recovery, or stress relief. Taking magnesium 1 to 2 hours before bed can help promote relaxation and support melatonin production, especially when paired with a wind-down routine, reduce screen time, and lower light exposure. That said, if your goal is cognitive enhancement or stress resilience, magnesium 3 and 8 may be taken earlier in the day as it supports brain function without causing drowsiness. Tool. Take magnesium glycinate or citrate in the evening to calm the nervous system. Take magnesium 3 and 8 in the morning or early afternoon if your focus is brain performance. Now, why does all this timing matter? Because your body isn't just absorbing nutrients passively. It's doing so in time-sensitive waves with peak windows for digestion, enzyme activity, and neurotransmitter regulation. For example, your gut motility, stomach acid production, and bile release are all strongest earlier in the day, meaning fat-soluble vitamins like D3 and K2 are absorbed more efficiently in the morning than at night. And cortisol, which can spike too high with poorly timed supplements, is naturally highest in the morning and should taper down throughout the evening. Taking energizing or activating supplements late in the day can blunt this rhythm and impair sleep. Here's a powerful analogy. Your circadian system is like a symphony. Each section, metabolism, hormones, cognition, plays at a specific time. Taking supplements out of sync is like playing the right notes at the wrong time. It disrupts the music. To make this practical, here's a 24-hour timing framework. 8 to 10 a.m. take vitamin D3 plus K2 with a fattening breakfast. 12 to 2 p.m. optional. Second dose of magnesium 3 N884, mental clarity or stress. 8 to 10 p.m. take magnesium glycinate or stretch rate to support sleep and muscle recovery. And of course, none of this works in isolation. These nutrients are best supported by consistent sleep, exposure to morning sunlight, physical activity, and a nutrient-rich diet. How do you know which of these supplements you actually need, in what amounts, and how to stop guessing? We'll cover the lab tests, body signals, and behavioral cues that tell you exactly where to focus. At this point, you know that magnesium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2 are deeply interconnected, and that their effectiveness depends on form, timing, and synergy. But there's one more layer to cover, maybe the most important of all, your unique biology. Because no matter how evidence-based a supplement protocol is, if it's not tailored to your body's current state, it might miss the mark or worse. Because imbalances, in a world full of influencer, enforced stacks, and cookie-cutter recommendations, the real power lies in biological personalization. Let's talk about how to make this practical. Start with lab testing. If you truly want clarity, blood work gives you objective feedback. The following tests can provide actionable insights. 25-hydroxyvitamin D. This is the gold standard test. For vitamin D status, optimal levels are generally considered Adobe, between 40 to 60 nml, though some functional medicine practitioners prefer 50 to 80 nml for immune and mood support. If your levels are low, supplementation makes sense, but if they're already high, adding more D3 without magnesium or K2 may do harm. Magnesium often appears normal even when tissue levels are low. RBC magnesium is more accurate for assessing functional magnesium status. Aim for values above 6 mg, DL calcium and PTH, parathyroid hormone. These help you interpret your vitamin D and K2 status in context. For example, if calcium is high and PTH is suppressed, it might indicate excess vitamin D or inadequate K2. These tests don't require a full medical workup. Many are available through direct-to-consumer labs or can be ordered through your healthcare provider. But even without labs, you can still make smart personalized decisions using body signals. Here are some everyday cues your body gives you: tired, wired, or anxious at night. You may need more magnesium, particularly glycinate, endless late day, screen time or caffeine, getting sick often, or feeling emotionally flat. Suboptimal D3 levels could be impairing immune and neurotransmitter function, muscle cramps, tight joints, or dental issues. These may point to a calcium misplacement issue, meaning you're low in vitamin K2. The body whispers before it screams. Learning to listen is the core of self-optimization. Here's a protocol to test what works best for you. 1. Test or baseline. If possible, get blood work before starting any new supplement routine. 2. Stack strategically. Start with one nutrient at a time. For example, begin with magnesium glycinate in the evening for 5 to 7 days, before adding vitamin D3 in the morning. Then layer in K2 after a week. 3. Journal the effects. Note sleep quality, mood, muscle tension, and focus. Patterns will emerge. Even subtle shifts matter, especially with nervous system support. 4. Reassess every 6 to 12 weeks. Adjust doses or forms based on new feedback. Supplementation should evolve, just like your body does. This is not about chasing perfection. It's about precision through awareness. And the mindset shift here is powerful. You stop reacting to marketing and start responding to your body's signals with science as your guide. And remember, these nutrients don't replace the foundations. If you're not getting daily sunlight, eating real food, sleeping deeply, and managing stress, even the best supplement stack will have limited impact. Think of supplements as performance enhancers, not replacements for healthy living. We've now covered how magnesium, D3, and K2 work in your body from cell to system. We've explored synergy, timing, form, and personalization. So, in the final section, we'll bring it all together. I'll walk you through a clear recap, a mindset for lasting change, and one small challenge you can take on today to start using this science in your life. Let's finish strong. Let's take a moment to bring this full circle. You started this video with a question, maybe even a frustration. I'm taking magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2, but am I doing it right? And now you've uncovered a deeper truth. It's not just what you take, it's how, when, and why you take it that determines whether it helps you or harms you. We explored the hidden roles each of these nutrients play. Magnesium isn't just a sleep aid, it's a stress regulator and neural stable, but the form and timing matter deeply. Vitamin D3 enhances calcium absorption, but without enough magnesium to activate it, you could end up with a full gas tank and a broken ignition. And without vitamin K2, all that calcium might deposit in your arteries, not your bones, turning a well-intentioned supplement routine into a long-term risk factor. You'd also learn that the form matters. Magnesium 3N8 versus EA, glycinate, vitamin D3, VSD2, K2, MK7, VSMK4, and that your circadian rhythm influences how well these nutrients are absorbed and used. But most importantly, we explored the shift from generic advice to personalized protocols. Here's what the researchers and what experience confirms. Your body is an adaptive, intelligent system. When you support it with the right signals at the right time in the right form, it knows what to do. So, what's next for you? Here's a simple challenge. Pick one of the tools from this video and apply it today. Maybe it's switching your magnesium to glycinate and taking it before bed. Maybe it's pairing your D3 with K2 in a morning meal. Or maybe it's asking your doctor for a 25-hydroxy vitamin D test or an RBC Whatever you choose, let it be small, clear, and immediately actionable. Momentum creates motivation. And the goal isn't perfection, it's precision over time. Because when you begin to truly understand how your biology works and you align your habits with that science, you stop guessing, you start transforming. And that's what this channel is here for. To equip you with the neuroscience, physiology, and behavioral tools that move you closer to the life